We're back.
We're back, everybody. Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation.
SJ.
Tyler's back.
Hey. What up? Yeah. I was not feeling too good. I thought I came down with the COVID.
The vid.
But I did not. I tested negative. So
Good.
I think somebody must have put some bad medicine on me out there. So I had to get washed off and smoked off, and took me a couple of days recovery. Yeah.
Glad you're back.
Yeah, I feel a lot better. But
Just a flu or what?
I don't really know, man. It was like a 24-hour high fever, and then I just slept. Like, I mean, I was out. I was like Chris in a haunted house.
God.
I was drooling.
After lemonade.
I had some lemonade.
Golly.
Yeah. Dang, man. I slept hard, though, for real.
I still got that image of you laying on that desk, just out cold.
A little string, little spit string from the desk when he sat up. Nah, but no, I slept hard for, like, honestly, man. Like, I came home and just crashed, and then slept almost all day, like that Sunday, and then even Monday. I mean, I slept till probably noon, and then after that, it just kind of, that fever broke and had a good sweat, and that was it.
Did anybody in your house get it too?
No, just me, which was weird. Yeah, that's why I came home with the mask and, like, quarantined, because I thought for sure I had it.
Yeah.
Nah,
It sounded like it too by your symptoms and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure, because you had it.
Yeah, and it sounded similar to what I had.
Yeah, but I took a home test and it said negative, unless I just didn't do it right. But I don't know. 24 hours later, I was all right. You know?
And that's why I always say you guys got to live right. No, I'm just kidding. Things like that's going to happen to you. No.
Dang.
See?
But we're glad you're back, Tyler.
Yeah,
it was
glad
weird.
to be
It was weird without you. I ain't gonna lie. But I'm glad that I'm glad you're back. And that last episode, man, it was pretty good. We Skinwalker Ranch, but what you got, Chris?
That was a good episode. I'm sad I missed that.
Yeah.
So we got.
We got some listener stories
Yeah.
that Chris and Tyler have received.
I got one. This is from Daniel Spencer.
Man, that's a dark screen there, Chris. How can you read that?
He's in St. Paul, Minnesota. And again, he wanted to be recognized on this, so he said, like all young res kids, I smoked weed a lot. My family is kind of outdoorsy and survivalist, with my dad being a Green Beret, so I was hanging with my older bro watching movies. We were running low on the dank green. I decided to walk down to our dealer. Mind you, I live like a mile and a quarter off the main road. You have to go uphill, then back a ways in the prairie of north central Montana. So no street lights or anything, just the darkness. Like dark. So there's a fog that rolled in oddly at night. So I grabbed a glow stick and I start raving. No, I'm just kidding. he grabbed a glow stick and red and blue, tied them to my bag, and told my dad, let me know how far I make it before you don't see them. Now I throw on my headphones, jamming some music, no country music, because my mama raised me right. No.
That's crazy.
I pre-rolled a J for the walk because I needed it like that. No. Now, when I get to top of the hill, before I get to the main road, I decide to tie a glow stick to the P cord and act like I'm at a rave and wave them around all crazy. I'll stop and hide them and run over to a different direction and wave them around again. Did this for like 30 minutes, made it to my dealer, and he's all like, hey, bro, before, be careful. Someone texted me saying they saw a UFO lights on Spencer Road. So I'm walking back, and a cop pulls up next to me and was, hey, you need a ride up home? We've been getting calls of UFOs on the road. I laughed and I said, I'm fine. Ha ha. That's his story.
Seeing UFOs.
I guess so.
Possibly seeing
Possibly,
UFOs.
yeah.
Possible UFOs. Hey, a question. Why do you get all the weed stories, man?
I don't know, man.
Do y'all think that Chris smokes out?
I guess when you say smoke off, or they say smoke,
Maybe
they
they
think
think-
it's smoke
Oh,
out.
maybe. Well, I've had that too. Like, I've said smoke off somewhere. Like, I've smoked myself off, and some people think it's smoked out weed.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I don't smoke weed.
I would never think you
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes.
And I'm
so.
like, no, like, see to yourself
Yeah,
off
yeah.
because, like, I go a lot of places. So I told somebody, like, yeah, I just, I smoke off sometimes. And they're like, smoke out? Like, how much you smoke? I was like, no. I smoke off with cedar or whatever. So
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't say like 3 ounces of cedar.
Yeah.
there was little sidetrack. There was somebody on TikTok smoking sage, like a bundle of sage.
No.
I was gonna send that to you guys, but I forgot. But he had this big old bundle and he was smoking it.
That's got to be
He
a
was
white
blowing
guy.
it out. I was like, what the heck?
That's got to be a white guy.
No, it's not.
No.
No. So I might
Dang,
try that.
Trying to get those lungs right.
Dang.
But that was crazy.
Washing them lungs off.
Dang. So Tyler, you got Chris? Is that
Yeah. that's-
okay?
Yeah.
Tyler, you had one.
That was pretty cool.
Mine doesn't have anything to do with weed, but this one was sent to me from Derek Morris, and man, he's got some keen Bigfoot stories on his personal page. I don't know if he wants me to shout that out, but yeah, he sent me this one just a couple of days ago. So he's like, I got a Bigfoot story. He goes, I unplug my phone, I grab my gear, and head out to my car to go to work. The time is 4:30 a.m., same as every morning. When I step out on my front porch, I immediately notice a weird, pungent, strong, musky smell. I close the door and start walking down the gravel path to my car. As I come around the side of the house, I feel something is watching me. I can barely make out 2 tall, dark shapes in my side yard back towards the creek. The only light I have on me is my cell phone flashlight, and I fumble around and manage to take a short video before my phone shuts off dead. My battery was 100% charged for the day, same as it always is, but these 2 dark shapes look at me for about 30 seconds and just start staring and blinking. The first one turns and walks off through the woods, followed closely by the second. Still not sure why my phone died. And then he sent me the video. Did you get the video? I got a real quick video.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's creepy. It's like you can kind of hear. And then like, like when you shine lights in like animal eyes, the reflection, here's 2 of them.
Dang.
Yeah.
Were they? I guess I didn't really. I mean, I figured you. I didn't really read the story, but like, does it in the video? I didn't see the video. I guess.
I can show you all the video real quick. Well, hang on, there it goes.
Send that to me and I'll post
Dang,
it.
that looks. There's 2 of them too.
Yeah, there's 2 of them, and it's only for
Wow.
like 8 seconds. And he said he would have got longer, except
Is he getting closer?
His phone died mysteriously after being charged
Dang.
100%.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty cool. I seen that, man. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that was a cool video too,
Wow.
because you can see then the light they're
Like blinking?
and then they just
Yeah.
then his phone shuts off. So yeah, Mado for that story. 'Cause,
Appreciate that.
That was a keen story. I
Who
like
was that?
one? That was Derek Morris. He's up
Okay.
from around Tennessee. the Appalachian Mountains. He didn't give me like a town.
But yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in that area of the country. But
I had another story from our friend Fred Pawnee, that Second Fox guy.
Pawnee.
One of the winners from Pawnee.
From Pawnee.
So Fred won second place at the Pawnee story contest. It's Fred Pawnee.
Yeah, he sent us another story. He wanted me to read this, and he said his aunt Cheryl was killed in a car wreck leaving Sac and Fox powwow 1 year. I went to go visit my Uncle Norman about a year later, and while we were talking, his home phone started ringing. I asked him if he was going to answer it. He told me and my other uncle, "No, I won't. It won't be anybody on there when you do." So I walked over and picked up the phone and said hello. It was just static. My uncle said, "See, it's Cheryl. She used to call home before she left work to see if I needed anything from the store. She still calls at 4:45. Scared me out. That phone was 4:45.
Wow.
Dang.
And I just wanted to make a comment on this story. I have heard a lot of stories just like this. Not, in particular, but, getting phone calls, from the other side, So, I do know that this happens. I know this is real. And, again, I think we ought to do an episode on something like this, maybe later on down the road. So again, Fred, I want to thank you for that story, and we definitely will want to try to do a show around that maybe down in the future. So again, I want to say Mado and a ho.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that.
One of my favorite shows of all time is the old Twilight Zone, with Rod Serling. And there's an episode where this kid gets a birthday gift or something from his grandma that died, and it's a phone, and then she calls him. Whoa. But the crazy thing, and then she tells him to do all these things, and the grandma wanted to. It's kind of I'm trying to remember exactly how it plays out, but the grandma was jealous of the mom or something like that, and she wanted the little boy to love her more, and so she tells the little boy on the phone you should come and visit me. And then, basically tells him to go play in traffic. And then he gets hit by a car and killed. That's the story. Yeah. It's a crazy episode, man.
Have you seen The Black Phone?
I have not.
You seen that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the one that you went to and didn't invite us to?
I know it.
Or was that Smile?
That was Smile. I remember that.
Good.
Yeah.
Barbarian's good, too. Nope is good.
Didn't even get an invite.
You were watching Bigfoot's Wild Weekend.
No,
I said, Tyler, come out. No.
I'm busy.
Put those curtains up.
Yeah.
Twisting that thing on
movie night.
On the blinds.
It's YouTube night.
I had another story, but I'm gonna ask Mr. Yehola if he could read it for me.
Yeah. So this story is from Monty Leaf. So I guess the story happens when she was 6 years old. She's 52 years old now. But basically back. She goes, my mom and I were driving to get my dad at his drop off from work. She had to pee really bad in front of a church and told me to let her know when a car was coming. It was almost dark, and I sat in the front seat holding the cigarette she lit. I heard her say, "Go, go, go." And basically she was chunking rocks underneath the door of the car. She says, I crawled onto the hood of the car and seen a dog wagging its tail. She screamed really loud and grabbed me off the car. The dog had a face of a man. Whoa. And she said, I guess it's back in 1976. But she said that we ran a half mile to the pickup site. She let me down, ran in the house, and told the deacon of the church what we saw. And as that happens, her dad walked up, heard the conversation, and took the deacon's wife, or the deacon took his wife inside. And my dad said never to speak of what they encountered that night. The men also went out there to see what was going on. But she said she didn't know really what happened that night. But she said this is literally the 5th time she's only ever shared that story. Whoa. But that's a great story. That reminds me back of some old Eufaula stories back in the day of basically almost being somebody that was like shifting, I guess, or about to shift, or coming off a shift. I say by shift I mean like shape shift. But I've heard stories about times where dogs would show up and they'd have gold teeth. They'd smile, the dogs smile real big, get patted and loved on, and they smile and had a gold tooth, and that's out of Eufaula. That's over at actually that actual story. Not to give a plug, but on October 21st, that story that I just told you guys about the dog with the gold tooth, that's where that event will be out there, October 21st. But yeah, no, those types of stories to me I love those stories. Because you just never know, like dang, you could be walking up to be a cat or or some type of something, and it's like, oh, you never know, that's your neighbor, So that's crazy. That's a great story though. Thank you. If I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize. But Pawnee Leaf, appreciate that.
Might be Pawnee Leaf.
Pawnee Leaf. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Awesome story. Yeah, we'll be in Eufaula the 21st. We'll be in Okmulgee the 22nd.
Well, that's what I liked about that story. We were later on. I know we're going to do an episode on Dogman later. Next episode and stuff. So to me, that's kind of like a good starting off point. Later on for that. But I know. Everybody's been asking us, and we try to do our very best to, share the stories that you guys sent in and try to, read them and stuff like that. We appreciate all our listeners. When we were down in Porham, we got, hit by, some listeners, and they were telling us how much they enjoyed it. And we appreciate hearing that kind of feedback, that maybe we brought some kind of happiness to people, giving them back memories of their grandpas and their uncles and their aunts, real good to hear those kind of things. And I just want to acknowledge each and every one of you guys that came out and told stories to us too. I think that's amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I know Russell had, a few things to say too.
Yeah. Thank you for having us over there. It was a great powwow. We got to MC with Chris Hill, got to help out with that. And then we got to meet a lot of cool people that came up to us and then even wanted to do some events and everything. So
we even got to sign some autographs
and
too.
Then, we had a fan shout out to Rusty Gertie. Thank you so much for coming up to us and just being a big fan and letting us sign your poster. I thought that was really cool. So we're shouting you out right now, man.
Appreciate you.
Really appreciate the love, and we're glad you enjoyed the content. And keep listening, and hopefully we see you down the road to even more events. And then we had a lot of stories that we got recorded. So.
Oh my goodness.
That scared the crap out of me.
Dang. Those spirits start talking to these guys now. That's crazy.
You want to know why they call me Deuce?
Because he be deucing out of here.
Give that just a second. You might start wafting over your way.
What is that? What's that smell?
He said that.
No.
It might be creeping your way. It's like in cartoons, man.
Under your nose.
Dang, Pepe Le Pew.
Dang, that was scary, man.
Well, that was a good lead into I mean, go
The
ahead.
stories? Okay,
well, to
so-
what we're getting ready to talk about, yeah.
Well, like,
was
so
an Amber Alert,
I wanted
by the
to, say about Porn. Thank you, everybody, for coming up to us and telling us some stories. We got to record a few stories, and we're going to play that for you right now.
My name is Jeremy Merriman, Osage Ponca, and I got a little ghost story from the Pawnee res.
Hey, there we go. Okay.
And there's a college there, Pawnee Nation College. I used to go to that college. There's a parking lot by this college, and in that parking lot there used to be a playground. And before that college was a college, they had made it into homes, like apartments, houses or something. There's apartments and houses out there. But I remember playing on the playground with other kids, and we was playing tag and chasing each other, doing whatever. But I remember at one point we got quiet and was like, who is that? Who's making all that noise? Like, where's all that laughing coming from? Like, we're all sitting here being quiet. And then I turn around and the merry-go-round is spinning, and we all look, and as you can hear the kids, but there's nobody there.
Dang. Yeah, I know Russell kind of caught something on TikTok with that, with the merry-go-round. But let me ask you this question: in the college, was it the Pawnee College? In that building, is there like a certain type of ghost in there? I mean, we kind of got a tour of it. Have you heard anything, or have you seen anything, or heard someone say anything about that?
Well, I've been into the boys' dorm, and it's kind of next to that playground too, in the area. And I remember me and some other children. I was a teenager, matter of fact, at this time, and they was teenagers. But us and their dad went to the basement, and something just like freaked us out, like made us run out of there. And so it was just like, and I remember going down into the basement. It was completely dark down there, and I remember thinking, people always said, don't go in these buildings. Like, wonder why. And about that time, I just remember just feeling something like just saying, get out of here, go, you gotta go. And then just something just like eerie. It was just like an eerie feeling in the air, and it was just like you had to go. So we all just ran out of there.
Yeah. Man, we actually did a tour of that. We got a tour of that. And have you ever, I guess let me ask you this question. Have you, in those, at old boys dorm, underneath, have you been underneath that? Where they had like the showers and stuff? You ever been down there?
I was in the, let's see that. Well, right when you go downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of where it got kind of eerie at down there. One time when I was a teenager too, also, I remember this. This was always, like, it was so freaky. It really was. It was in a reservation of North Dakota, Fort Berthold, I think. Yeah, it was Fort Berthold. And they have a cemetery up there. These are Rick Ross scouts that, that got killed during Custer's last stand by the Sioux and the Cheyennes and all the other tribes that were there, helping that little last roundup or whatever you call it. His last stand, they said. So all his scouts was buried on this road, and when we was going to a powwow, and we pulled over and stopped. And we get up there and was looking at the sign. It was Bloody Knife, and like, it's common, if it's familiar with the story, it's one of his Custer's favorite scouts. But him and his scout team was in there at their cemetery. Well, we get out and we start walking towards there, and about that time, every door in the vehicle we was in a van, just popped open.
Wow.
And it was like, and at that time, we just all looked at each other and just jumped in and just left.
Yeah.
Just floored it and got out of there.
Man. Wow.
That's crazy, dude.
That is pretty crazy, man.
Whoa.
Just imagine the history, man, in that moment, but also too that happening to you too as well. Have
you ever been to the IHS basement? when you were younger?
In Pawnee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was the most scariest part, like, because my grandma would send me down there to get us some sodas, and it always seemed like nobody was ever down there. The lights were always flickering, and it was so gray and dark down there.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and I just remember just having like the eeriest feeling every time I would go down there and get us a drink. And of course, the soda machine was all the way at the end of the other hall when you come down the elevator.
It just feel like there's like
Imagine
little people or something looking around the corner.
Some watching you,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It was so, oh man, I'll never forget that feeling. But Pawnee is super scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tribe used to be super scary because there was no lights around before the college was there. It was complete darkness out there. And I do remember that playground, that old playground you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and they tore it out
Yep.
and put a parking lot there.
Yep. So,
Man, wow. Yeah, you came with some heat, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Well, I've heard some crazy stories about that place too. Like there was an old tunnel that came right out there, and those children used to escape out of that boarding school through a secret tunnel and get out of there. And
Whoa.
if they would catch the kids out, they'd start hunting the kids when they take off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. Ooh. That's pretty good, wasn't it?
A lot of history.
Yeah, I like that.
A lot of Pawnee history.
For sure. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and put if you got anything to plug or anything. Now you good?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
If you have another story or
Y'all
anything,
should
let
have
us
came
know.
to this powwow.
Oh yeah. Appreciate you.
Okay, I'm Margaret O'Kelly. I'm from Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. But I'm Comanche and Osage. Actually relocated to Fort Gibson.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband was from Fort Gibson. He was Cherokee. And actually, it's not my story, but it's a story I heard from my sister's husband.
Okay.
And it happened down in Mountain Scott, around Mountain Scott. That's north of Lawton. And my brother-in-law and his Bobbies, his friends, they were playing pool at the VFW pretty late. Actually, they played all night, I guess. So they were on their way home. And maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, driving along there, taking one of their bobbies home and passing around Mountain Scott. There's a log refuge area, National Wildlife Service through there, and so they were kind of careful because there's buffalo in that area and so other animals. And so there's an old stone house that I guess it's on the National Historic side of homes and all. And so they were coming around the corner, approaching that old stone house. And they saw an old lady, kind of look like me, yeah, standing on the roadside. And they stopped and they said, "Oh, there's somebody's Gaku, Grandma." And they said, "Yeah, they better see who it is." And so they pulled over. Hey, Gaku, where are you going? I'm going home. Oh, we're going this way. Well, that's where I'm going. I'm going that way. Okay. They didn't think nothing of it. They didn't think she was going to that old stone house, but anyway, they picked her up. Gave her a ride, was giving her a ride, and she was quiet. This old lady sitting back there in the back seat, and they're going along. And they come around, they was approaching that stone house, and they passed it. And she didn't say nothing, and they didn't say nothing, and they thought, "Oh, wait a minute, where's your house?" So they pulled over again. She didn't say nothing. And they pulled over again to see if that was her house, or her house was, they were getting close to her house. And she
I was
said,
asked to make a
"No,
request.
that's not my
Anyone
house."
from the
So they went on.
powwow committee
And they were
Can they
talking
hit the
by
lights
themselves,
for
all
us?
the bobbies, talking about their
We can
pool
have some
game and just
lighting
going
out
on
here.
and talking,
Anybody from the
laughing,
powwow
having a
committee?
good time. So they remembered, oh, that cuckoo.
Also, the
They
singers
pulled over again, and
are
they were going
requesting
to ask
some
her where to
coffee.
go, and she was gone.
Anybody
Whoa. So she was.
from the powwow
So they were
committee?
driving by the house, and they nothing like she was just gone. Once they went to turn back to ask her where her house was, she was gone.
Nothing there.
Oh
Nice.
wow,
That's a good one.
that is a good one. Wow.
They sobered up real quick.
Yeah,
Dang,
right.
yeah.
Of
Golly,
course.
wow.
Of course.
Wow. Well, yeah, we appreciate that. You got any other stories for us, or is that the only one that you want to share?
That one always stands in my mind. I don't know why it always stands in my mind.
To tell us.
Yeah, to tell us.
Well,
Yeah.
same fellow, my brother-in-law. My sister was the one telling me all these stories, and she said he decided to go fishing early one morning. So him and his bobbies, of course, they load up to go fishing, and it's a place they like to go around Mount Scott, that area. And they got all their stuff together, their fishing poles and all that stuff, and put it in the trunk and headed out to their favorite place. And they were there at the fishing hole, having a good time talking. They weren't playing pool, but they were, out where they wanted to be, getting ready to fish. So they heard a big splash. They thought, oh, it's one of those great big frogs that you catch to eat,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they thought, big old frog. And pretty soon they saw the waves kind of separating in the water, separate like that. And they thought, that frog's coming over here, I guess. The frog's coming toward them. They looked again, it's kind of getting shiny in that water. Reflection was coming off the moon, kind of like that big bright moon over there. And they could see. Pretty soon they looked real good, and that water just kept going sideways, like something was coming in the water.
Wow.
So they looked, it came closer and closer, brighter and brighter. And they could see it would start coming up out of the water like that. And they looked at each other and they thought, nope. Time to end this little fishing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got up. They ran. They actually ran back to the car, left all their gear there and didn't look back. And,
my goodness.
got in the truck, went home. The next day they went back to get their stuff. And everything was gone. All their fishing hole, all the straps, everything was gone.
Wow.
Dang. Another good one.
That's yeah.
Wow.
Hey, poor and Powwow is doing some good, telling some good stories.
But Mount Scott, that area, is an old camping ground where Comanches used to camp and stay in that area. And there's a lot of caves around there, a lot of happenings around that area.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you sharing your stories.
Yes.
Yeah, that means a lot to us, and we don't get a lot of. We haven't heard a lot of Comanche stories, so yeah, especially out of that area. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I got one more I remember now.
Okay. Yeah.
It's my sister's. My older sister, she actually went to Bacon in '56, but she and her friends, they liked to stomp dance. I don't know where they learned it, but they liked that. That was something they had heard, and one of the fellows that she knew actually picked up how to sing stomp dance songs. He had a real good memory, a real good sharp guy, and he knew those songs. So they liked to go up to the top of Mount Scott and stomp dance. And so, of course, early in the morning, 2 o'clock, and they loaded up in her friend's car. Her friend had a little Ford, but it was full of Indians. It's a little car, but a lot of kids in there.
Like a clown car, wasn't it?
And they got up to the top of Mount Scott, and boy, they started dancing, having a good time, got their little fire going, just really singing.
All right, we're about ready to
And
start
pretty
getting
soon,
ready. This is our first
somebody
call
fell back.
for all dancers.
And they said, wait, somebody's
singers.
falling back. They even actually had shell shakers too.
Mr. Gertie,
A
raise
couple of
your
the ladies
hands.
learned to shake shells.
He's going to be lining
doing that.
everybody up for grand
Sound
entry.
good. Everything sound good. Pretty soon they
First
start
call for
hearing
all
some clickety
singers and
clack,
dancers.
clickety clack.
Start getting ready.
And somebody fell
We're
back.
getting
I
ready to
said,
get
"How did
started
somebody
here
fell
in just
back.
a little bit.
Clickety clack.
What-oh?
Start looking back. There's a lady back there. She's dancing with him.
Oh,
Clickety clack.
wow.
Don't
They looked
forget
down.
registration.
They saw these deer hooves.
Right over
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
They got back in that little Ford and took off.
Man, they was out of there.
Yeah, they were gone.
They turning that corner down Mount Scott.
Man. Russell, come on now.
Good.
Man.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah,
wow.
we appreciate that
are-
one.
Yeah, I'm
Got some 3 great stories
yeah,
right there.
very keen. We appreciate that.
Old time stories.
Yeah.
yeah. Comanche stories. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Kim Taylor. I'm from Honey Grove, Texas, which is on the other side of Paris, Texas. But my grandmother was, I'm not really sure where she was born and raised, but I know my mom was born somewhere around the Roof, Oklahoma. This is all in Choctaw, the Choctaw Nation area. And I remember a bunch of stories my grandma used to tell us when we were little. These were our bedtime stories. And why she told us these for bedtime, I don't know, but she told us, and I remember them. And I know one story I remember. She used to always tell us that, you know, for us to go to sleep, because when they were out there, my mom, she was born in this cabin over there in Roof, Oklahoma. And it was not in the city of Roof. I mean, if you've ever been to Roof, it's real small anyway. But she was born somewhere outside of that area. That was in a cabin on top of a hill, she always says. And my grandma used to tell us that whenever it would start getting dark, she would tell the kids to come in, because if not, the bears that walk on 2 legs would come get them. And then sometimes that night, she said the bears that walk on 2 legs would come and bang on the cabin, because they lived in a 1-room cabin, and they would come and bang on the walls and hit the door and just stuff like that. And she said they didn't have any windows because it's just like a cabin. That's how they lived. And it was my grandma and my mom. She was little, and then some of my couple uncles and aunts. And so my grandpa, I guess he worked because he wasn't there whenever all this was going on. It was just my grandma and a bunch of kids. And so, yeah, she would tell us that story. And for the longest time, I never knew what she talked about. All I ever just imagined was these, you know, regular bears that were coming out of the woods, knocking on the door or banging on the walls or whatever it was. Until later on, I realized that all this time she was talking about Bigfoot.
Ooh.
And so it was Bigfoot that was coming out of the wood line and coming, banging on their walls,
Man.
knocking on the doors, stuff like that. And that would happen, I wouldn't say every night, but she said it would happen, you know, like every other day or something like that, just whenever they were around.
Ooh. Wow. So I mean, that's when she was a little girl. Or was she older?
No, she was older. My
Okay.
grandma. Yeah, my mom was little.
Oh,
She
okay.
was. My mom said she doesn't remember because she was like a little girl, maybe 1 or 2 years old, something like that. But I don't know how old my grandma was. So this is way back in maybe 1930s. I'm thinking somewhere around there.
Okay.
Maybe 1940, something like that.
Wow.
So, you know, everything's still, you know, not populated.
Yeah, and there's not a
Yeah.
lot of light.
Yeah. And even if you go to Roof today, that's probably still like that too. We go there every once in a while. My mom's like, yeah, I lived way back there, back in that wood line back there. I'm like, no wonder Bigfoot was
Dang,
back
there's
there.
no road back there.
Yeah, there ain't nothing back there. Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, so we spoke earlier, you know, kind of just briefly.
Yeah.
You said you had another kind of weird thing like that too about a road, I guess.
Oh yeah. My grandma said when she was little, so she's maybe about 10 or 12, something like that. Her and her brother would have to walk, and I'm not sure where it was. She never did say what town they lived in, but they would have to walk to the next town, and they would have to go through the woods. Well, there's like a little, like a wagon trail. That's what it was, a wagon trail, and they would follow the wagon trail, you know, that leads them to the next town to go buy food and stuff, and then come back to wherever they lived at. And she said one time there was this she called it like looked like a brown slug that was laying across that road. And she said it stink real bad. And they didn't know what it was, so they were kind of scared. So they walked all the way around it. And she said that thing stinks so bad that you could smell it for miles. And so they went into town and they told the sheriff, hey, there's something in the road. And it's laying in the road and it stinks real bad and they don't know what it is. So they came out with her. The sheriffs came out with them to see what it was, and it wasn't there. And the thing had moved. And all this time, I had always imagined it being the slug, because that's how she described it, was the brown slug, and that it stink, for miles. And now I realized that she was talking about Bigfoot. Bigfoot was laying across the road, just laying there, asleep, And this is like in the evening time too, so I guess it just laid there.
I know it had somewhere cool to lay, I guess. Wow.
Yeah, so it's just laying anywhere in the woods.
So, and I know, and I'm sure I'm speaking for Russell here, but you said you had something had to do with some star people, extraterrestrial. You said you had something.
Yeah.
We were talking about that when you had briefly mentioned it. So.
Yeah, my grandma told me one time they saw something that was real shiny in the sky, and like it crashed in the woods. So then this is when she was little too, so I'm not sure when this happened. I mean, everything's like in the maybe 1920s, maybe, because she was still little. She was born in 1915, and so she said a lot of people walked to where that crash was in the woods. They walked over there. A lot of the Choctaw people walked over there, and there was a Choctaw man, an elder man. He went up there, and they said it looked like a silver bullet. And it was shiny, and it was silver, and she said all she could just see it as a silver bullet just standing up.
Whoa.
And the man went, and he touched it, and he disappeared, like he disintegrated. And they all got scared.
Whoa.
Yeah, she said they all got scared, and everybody just ran and scattered. And they came back the next day because they had to go to the towns to tell the sheriffs and the police, whatever they were, the sheriffs. And they all came back with a news reporter and everything. That thing was gone. They never saw the Choctaw man again, the elder. And they said it just left a big old round circle in the ground, and they never saw it again.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I tried to look for that one. I couldn't find anything about anything written about it, but I never could. I didn't know what year it happened. And she said she didn't remember at that time what year it happened, but she remembered it happened. Yeah,
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Russell and
Yeah.
Russell and I looked at each other like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
Right when he touched it. That's
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he just she said he just disintegrated, just like he was just like gone. That was it.
crazy. Wow.
And my grandma, she used to see a lot of stuff in the sky, and she said one time there was this witch that they were having. It wasn't a powwow, just more like a family gathering or something. They were just out there just having a fire pit and stuff like that. And there's this fireball that just went screaming across the sky, and it was laughing like ha ha ha, like almost like a witch laugh, right? But it was just laughing as it was screaming across the sky. And then she's also told me that when her and her brother were little, they went out to the woods and they saw this lady. And I don't know how this happens, but she went out there. They were hiding behind this tree, and this lady, she went in there and she cut her stomach open, took out her guts, put her guts in a bucket, and then she started flying away. So
Yeah, that's some powerful stuff right there.
And so her and her brother ran over there, got the guts, and they threw it and fed it to the pigs. So when she came back looking for her guts, and this was like early in the morning, before the sun starts coming back up, they heard her screaming around in the woods, ah, ah, and just screaming around in Choctaw and saying, like, where's my stomach? But all this is in Choctaw that they're speaking, and that she's screaming, hollering around, and finally, I guess she died. They said they just heard her go, ah, one last scream, and then that was it, and they didn't find her body or nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we came to this podcast or this powwow, and we are getting some heat.
Yeah.
This is some serious heat. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Sure, yeah.
Wow.
And I know you were saying something about Deer Woman, that the other lady was telling you about Deer Woman.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Start looking around now.
Yeah.
Start hearing that clack, clack.
Mine's probably not as scary as hers was, because I just remember my grandma used to tell us, not to go out night, not to go walk around at night, because, there's people, there's things that are out there that, you don't know and stuff like that. She said when they used to go out, they always had to look at the feet, because she said one time they ran into this lady, and she had like a shawl wrapped around her, and she had a real pretty long hair and everything. They said she was pretty, like a pretty young lady. And her mom told her, don't look at the feet, don't look at the feet. And she didn't understand why until later on her mom told her, that's deer woman. And she was like, well, what do you mean? She said, yeah, if you look at their feet, they have hooves. And if she sees that you look at her, she's going to run over there and stomp all over you until you die and kill you. So she always told us not to look at the feet.
And is that, and what is, who does that come, is that what nation is that?
That's Choctaw.
Choctaw?
Yeah, that's from the Choctaw Forum. I don't know any, I know every tribe has a version like that, but for the Choctaw version, it's that, don't look at the feet because they'll stomp all over you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we always grew up, not looking at people's feet.
Man, straight ahead, huh? Straight ahead.
Yeah, straight ahead. I have another one. My son told me he reminded me to tell you, when my stepdad, they lived over there, somewhere around Osage Nation, because my stepdad was Osage. When he was little, 5 years old, him and his mom went to go look for his dad. And his dad, it was probably I think they said it was almost like a 5-mile walk, because they had to walk back then. And she went to go look for him at the bar, because he was at the bar. So she had to go get him. So they had to walk. And when they walked, there was like a little creek on the side of them. And they could hear stuff splashing in the water, playing around, laughing. And then he said he could hear them whispering to him, just come here, like that. But his mom couldn't hear. She could hear the splashing and everything, but she couldn't hear the voices and the talking like he could. And he kept saying, yeah, I hear them. They're laughing. And she was like, don't listen to them. Don't even look over. Don't listen to them. And they just had to keep on walking all the way up until they got to that place, to where her husband was, where his dad was at, because she was telling him, don't look over there. That's the little people. The little people come get you. But she couldn't hear them. She could only hear the splashing, but she couldn't hear them talking. Where he could hear them like whispering. He could hear them laughing and giggling and stuff like that. I guess trying to entice him to come into the water with them.
Man,
some heat.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That heat coming in.
Yeah.
God.
It makes me nervous too. I'll be shaking.
I know.
I got goosebumps over here.
Yeah.
Man, we appreciate that, man. Wow. You, I guess we don't really have. I mean, I'm from the Cherokee and Creek, and he's Pawnee and Oto, and so we don't hear a lot of these types of things. And so, Russell, I don't know what you kind of think about that.
Yeah, I don't think we've had like a lot of Choctaw stories. Maybe, I don't know. We got to look through our TikTok and stuff, because a lot of people from everywhere post or they comment on our videos and stuff, and they have similarities to what we talk about or like their version of what it is. So it's interesting to hear like everybody's take on what they were what they were brought up to, and their elders telling them stuff. So it's interesting to hear all this, man. I enjoy it.
Okay, I'll tell you another one more. And
Okay.
When my grandmother had a stepmom, because her mom passed away, so they got remarried and stuff. So her stepmom was a witch. So she wanted to pass on that gift to my grandma. She took my grandma to the woods, and they went to some kind of pond beside a big tree, and she did something and started talking some kind of incantations or whatever in Choctaw, and this big old thing came out of the water, almost looked like a giant slug.
Whoa.
To her, everything looked like a slug, so I'm not sure what came out of the water. But I mean, because that's the best way she could describe it, back then. So this giant slug came out of the water, and she was telling my grandma she's going to pass on her gift to her, and all she had to do was drink something out of the water, out of that pond, and then she'll have that gift from that slug that's supposed to pass on that witchcraft. And so my grandma looked at that slug, and she said, no, I don't want it, and she ran. So I always tell my mom, imagine if she would have took the gift, we would have been like lines of witches. I could be a witch right now. No.
Dang.
She passed on that gift. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want that. I don't want that gift.
Man, wow.
Yeah, but that could have been, because it was the stepmom, and then it would have been my grandma, then it would have been my mom, and then me.
So it's all about, it's just all about a choice, really.
Yeah, so I'm glad she did. Yeah. But, and then one more, and then, because along with those witches, and I don't know if it's where this one came from, but my grandma was in the woods with, I think this was her mom that she was with, and they were walking in the woods, and she saw this old lady looking at her, and then she started wiggling her fingers to my grandma, And she said she felt something in her back, like something like just wiggling all in her back. It felt real weird. And then they went home, and then she told her mom, I saw that lady, and she started pointing at me and doing something, and then my back started feeling real funny. So her mom took off her shirt, and her hair in her back grew an inch. So they had to cut it off. So she don't know what that meant, what that was, or anything. So yeah.
Wow. Whoa. Yeah, we're me and Russell are pretty speechless over here. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, she had a lot of stories like that.
Wow.
And they're like little short stories, but because she would just jump from one story to another,
Mm-hmm.
and just tell us all her stories, like stories when they used to live in the church, and like an encampment. The Choctaws would live at a church, like in the building or something, and things would play with her hair. They would play with her bobby pins. She would wake up, her hair would be braided. Just weird stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
So.
A lot of great stories.
Man, a lot of great. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of great stories.
Respect to your grandmother.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
She had a lot of good stories.
Wow.
I don't have
awesome.
any. Yeah, I don't have any myself because we grew up in the Christian church, so I think we're saved. We're saved, and so God kept all that stuff, scary stuff away from us.
Yeah. Well, you just never know. But
Yeah.
we appreciate you, sharing these stories because, like I said, we don't get a lot of Choctaw,
Yeah.
version type of stories. So, we appreciate it. Yeah,
Oh, sure,
for sure.
And I know my family hears that, but you left this out, you left that. I'm like, I know, I can't.
Oh,
remember
that's the
everything.
worst.
Just tell them next time.
Next time, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll run into you again at
Yeah.
another event or powwow or whatever it is, So
Yeah.
we'll probably be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah.
you for having me on here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for coming on here and sharing your stories with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Dang, what'd y'all think of those stories?
That alien one was insane.
Yeah.
That DW was
Yeah.
my favorite
Yeah.
right there. I just think that was, man.
Man, what about the snake one? Golly.
I said Alien was my favorite one.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
crazy.
that was crazy.
Dang, but that's one thing about our podcast is like we have certain perspectives from certain areas we've tried that we're affiliated with and we've been around, but to get multiple types, I think we had a Comanche in there, we had a couple Choctaw, so we had a Pawnee.
That's some Pawnee stories.
Yeah, so and we someone talking about the Pawnee, basically the college. So man, that was truly amazing. We appreciate you guys sharing those stories, and when you guys see us around at an event, don't be afraid to stop us and say, "Hey, I got a story for you."
Mm-hmm.
It may give us a second to get our equipment if you want it. If you want to be known, if you want your name, you just give your first and last name, or you can just be anonymous. You just say, "Hey, I got this story for you. We'll record you real quick, and you're off and running."
Might even make your voice deep while telling the story.
Dang, looking.
If you want to be anonymous.
But this episode, I know we've had a lot of people really wanting to discuss this, and Chris is going to lead us off on kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Like I mentioned before, we try to listen to our listeners. We know you guys all have written in and made some special requests, and we want to do our very best to acknowledge those. And so with this episode, we wanted to dive into the missing 411 episodes. I know there's several shows out there, and one of our key researchers is here today, Mr. Tyler Randall.
Dang, deep dives.
Some of y'all might know him as Deuce. So that'd be all right. He knows stuff like that. So, he's here, and, he does a real phenomenal job on, checking out these shows and these movies and really picking them apart and stuff, and really doing his research on these things. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what kind of information he has. And also you got Mr. Yahola Tiger over here that also, does stuff like that too. So, I'm eager to hear, these guys' thoughts on these missing 411s, and I know Russell does his research as well. He's real good at pulling stuff up and, helping us on that internet, stuff like that. So, I'm really looking forward to hearing these things. But, again, I also have, some stories too that go along. But at this time, I'm gonna shoot this over to Mr. Deuce, Double Deuce. Double Deuce. Randall. God.
I smell it.
Nah. Do you
The
smell?
Amber Alert.
Do you smell what the deuce is cooking?
Nah, I appreciate that, Muddo. Yeah, I got to be 100% honest. I was unfamiliar with any of this source material until you had sent it to me. And man, I watched the one over Dior Coons, and I guess that was the first
one.
movie. And there's two, right? There's The Hunter, which I haven't got to yet. But
There's a third one coming out too about UFOs.
Oh,
it's
okay.
coming out this month, so we may have to.
But I really enjoyed this story. It's heartbreaking, to watch that play out. Think about like these documentaries. This one in particular, I loved it. It was really interesting. I do kind of wish, though, I don't know about y'all, if they would have just started the story and then stayed with it, because like they get you hooked into like the Dior Coon story. And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, it's on YouTube. I think the first one is. I ended up just buying it because, I don't know, that's just how I am. I got to have a copy of it. So anyway, but it's about this little boy. His family had gone fishing, and it was at a state park. And I guess they were going to the grocery store or something. His mom and dad were. And so before they had left, they were with the friend and then the grandpa. Like, I don't know if it was... I can't remember if it was the dad's grandpa or the mom's dad or whatever it was. But anyway, it was a friend of grandpa's and then grandpa. Well, the friend had said, hey, like look at all these fish I caught or whatever. Excuse me. And then, so mom and dad and little Dior had gone down to the creek there to look at the fish. And then they had were walking back to their campsite. And I think like the creek where they were at was only about 30 or 40 yards, I think, from where the campsite
they could see it from the campsite.
Yeah. Because, I mean, well, obviously, if it was within shouting distance, it couldn't have been, too far. But then they had left, or they had said they had left the little boy with grandpa while they ran to the store. And then that was the last time that he had ever been seen. And so he just sort of like vanished. And, of course, they first went into... when something like that happens, it's always the parents are like the first suspects. But I guess, since they weren't at the scene, they didn't really have a whole lot on them. Oh. And then it turned to grandpa. Yeah. And he
was older too. He was like real old. Yeah.
And then they talked to, that real kind of fishy character,
it was like the uncle, wasn't it?
Well, he's like an uncle or like a friend or something.
But I guess, he called him like uncle or something. Yeah, something like that.
And they looked at him, and then...
If I could interject real quick, just to kind of give the listeners some kind of feedback on these missing 411s. What they're kind of discussing right now is, at a lot of these national parks, people end up missing. And that's what these shows are about. They're trying to do, investigations on why these... children or adults go missing, and there's several stories, and that's what Mr. Randall's talking about right now is a specific story. And so this happens all over the place, especially at these national parks. And so if these national parks, a lot of times they're big places to go. They're huge, a lot of times, and they're marked off, and a lot of these are protected lands. You're not supposed to do certain things on there, like hunting sometimes, or developing, so they're keeping that natural, I guess you might say. So just giving you a little bit of background. I'll turn it back over. Apologize about that.
Oh, no, not at all. But yeah, so I'm glad you said that, because at the time that I had viewed this, I had no idea like this was like such an epidemic, as far as like how many people go missing in national parks every year. Like, it's kind of frightening.
And not to cut you off, but the problem, the problem that with that is they're not keeping an accurate tally of that.
Yeah, then they go into that, that it's impossible, or they just don't record that or keep that information. And anyway, so it was a really interesting story. And then, I guess just to keep with that one story, because then it kind of like it sets up that story, and then bam, immediately goes into like two
Another
other
story.
stories, and then it kind of comes back to the Dior Coon story, and then it goes into another one. So like I wish, to me personally, like they would have just
Straight through.
and then almost like if it was like a 30-minute or 45-minute show on each, because there is enough material there to squeeze out several episodes, you know. And I thought,
And that's Deuce Randall talking about squeezing out. No, I'm just kidding.
Mike. Hey, Chris is waiting on every moment.
I know. Okay, so I'm gonna have to really watch my words here. But no, it was. I mean, the way they shot the national parks, the cinematography in that was really beautiful. Like, I mean, just the shots of like the water and the mountains, and I mean, just the nature shots alone are just. I mean, they're gorgeous. I mean, you'd see why people want to go out there and, you know, find whatever they're looking for. You know, but then you got to be careful, because sometimes things that you're not looking for might find you.
Yeah.
Because this really kind of sent me down a rabbit hole of like other national park stories, and you know, we'll get into those as we move forward. But
And let me give you some background today. So this movie is by David Paulides. He's got 20 years of he's of law enforcement. You know, he's been, you know, cop, you know, all this stuff, and you know, for the last I'd say, I want to say 15 years, I believe. So how this whole thing started, because before him, no one was keeping real track of missing people, and basically he was stopped at a he was in the middle of a park doing something that has nothing to do with missing people, and he then was back at his hotel room, and he gets a knock on the door, a real soft knock on the door, and he opens the door, and he's like, it's two park rangers, and they go, you know, there's some weird stuff going on in these national parks, and he kind of, you know, was like, well, come in and explain it to me. So they talked for hours, and basically the park rangers were telling him that they're not keeping an accurate count of missing people. They're having issues, you know, with locating people, and like when they do locate them, they're coming up in weird occurrences. So then that led him on to do a bunch of research, and he came up with some points, some like case points, like some filters. So he doesn't, you know, so he doesn't, you know, so the naysayers can't say, hey, you did this, this, and this. Well, actually, this happened because that was a serial killer in this year, whatever. So I'll read some of those off now. So a lot of the cases basically hit these criteria. So bad weather within 24 hours, no history of mental illness, very smart or on the spectrum, no trace of a person being there, like no footsteps or, you know, or anything of that nature. The dogs, when they go to find, like when they go to get the person's exact location of where they last saw them to pick a scent up, dogs can't get a scent. One thing too, and another case point that I thought was real weird, the body usually shows up in a boulder field or around big rocks or near water. That's one that I kind of thought was interesting. One thing too, that another kind of weird thing is the clothes on the person usually tend to be in good shape. And then also too, to kind of round this out, kind of two of the weirdest ones is basically the body will show up in a place that's been searched 4 and 5 times.
Correct.
yeah,
And it'll show up, you know, right in front of them.
right.
The last kind of weird case point, or I guess there's 2 more, but basically there are 2 that go together. The victims will travel over extended miles, over mountain ranges, over rivers, you know, through boulder fields, while shedding their valuables. So shoes, socks, jackets, things of that nature. So he came up with all these case points and started finding cases, and he started really narrowing this down. Well, to get the case point, to get the cases to study these case points, he went and filed a Freedom of Information Act with the government. and they said, actually the park system doesn't have a running total. He goes, that's not true. He didn't live with that answer. So they go, okay, well, in just Yosemite or Yellowstone or wherever, this is at, he's like, okay, it'll be $20,000 to do Yosemite. So he started crowdsourcing and started getting some money, and he goes, okay, we can do that. And they said, oh, okay, no. Sorry, it's going to be, they kept raising the price, $50,000. Then they said it's going to be $500,000. He said, and then they were like, well, I'll do this. I'll crowdsource. I'll get up like $1 million, whatever. How much would it be to get the entire national park system to find these missing people? And he goes, and the person, that was at the headquarters was like $1.5 million. He's like, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. So he started just doing newspaper clippings. He just started really looking through old newspaper clippings, libraries, and then he would also just put it out like in newspapers. Like, hey, I'm looking, if you have a person that's missing, please send me their information. Basically trying to, help these families out. Because, as a cop, that's kind of like their nature, I guess, sometimes. Well, the first case that he ran into, and it was the Dennis Martin case that really piqued his interest. Did you guys, did you know the details of the Dennis?
Which one was
so
that?
So Dennis Martin was a kid who was 5 years old, maybe less than that, 3 years old.
Was this one in the 50s?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I do know that one.
So, do you know
no, go ahead. Well, I know, like...
So, you could fill in some spaces for me if I forget anything, but... So, his family was all playing out in this field. This is back in the 50s. They're all playing hide and go seek. They meet up with another family with the same last name, which is weird. So these kids are all playing together, and they're playing hide and go seek. And the father of Dennis Martin sees his son go all the way down to the edge of the clearing behind a tree. So when all the kids are found, he's like, where's Dennis at? So he walks over there, nothing. There's no sign of his son. So when they they started bringing in people like, hey, after a few whiles, they couldn't find him. They searched the entire premises. They couldn't find him at all. Well, dogs were brought out. All the stuff that we talked, just the case points we talked about, dogs were brought out. The weirdest part of this whole thing is they brought out the Green Berets. And the Green Berets they're not brought out for no reason. That's something serious. So he goes missing, and they can't find him, and they eventually start asking people around the park, like, hey, did you see my son? Be in mind, bad weather, all this stuff that I just talked about started happening. And so they started asking people in the parks that were still camping there. They said, hey, we were looking for my son. His name's Dennis Martin. One family said, hey, we were up in the boulder area of the park system, and we saw this hairy figure carrying a small child over its shoulder. And they were like, which direction? And so, they ended up going out there, and they could not find any scent of him or anything. And I believe to this day, like I said, do you know if they ever found him?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
Because there's another one that's like that too. They found, they go into it on the documentary too, where the kid was had crossed. I guess they had. I think that they had gone camping or something. Like his dad owned a lodge there. I think his name was Joshua something. I can't remember what his last name is. But they had gone on a nature hike with his brothers or sisters or family members or whatever. And they had thought that he was behind them the whole time. I think he was only 3 years old or something like that. The same thing. They look back and he's gone. He was just there. He was there 1 minute. They turned around and he was gone. And they were hollering his name, and they were, searching. But the same thing, they brought the dogs out. They said the dogs would go to a clearing, and then they were barking towards the sky. They were up, looking towards the sky, and they were just barking, jumping up towards the sky. Searched this mountain ridge, and then I think remember it was 2 or 3 weeks later, they found a shoe in perfect shape, like just sitting on a rock, like a perfect shape, like just in perfect shape, like he had just kicked it off. And so
I thought they found them side by side on that.
yeah, on the documentary. Yeah, well, they found that. Yeah, well, maybe they did. I mean, I don't remember, but I remember they found his shoes.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Yeah.
but they were like in perfect shape, and but it was the same thing, like you said. They said, I know that we had searched that area like several times.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way we would have missed that because they were so blatantly in the open.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, but I think then they find like his clothes too.
Yeah, they found
They
basically
found his clothes.
the weird thing about that case, and I can't remember that the little boy's name.
It was
Right,
Joshua something.
Yeah.
I didn't remember. I can look.
they
it up.
found his clothes folded neatly,
Yeah.
like in a spot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Man, that was awesome.
They found it, neatly folded, and there's so many of these cases, that in the specific areas that you talk about, what could that be, because he never comes to a definite answer, like I have, I did some research on cases, like I have cases like maybe we can go through it and maybe think of what that might be, but. But pertaining to, I know Chris has some, some thoughts on that, but I'll kick it over to you, Chris.
Yeah. Well, one I wanted to ask real quick. I thought I remembered one of those stories that they actually found one of the kids.
Yeah.
He was kind of just he wasn't right afterwards.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he was just, and he's still not right. He's just like all his memory of everything that happened was gone.
Well, there's a story too, because like I said, it sent me down a rabbit hole to check. There was one that just happened like in May of 2022 in Montana. This little kid was, I don't even know the full backstory, but he was missing for 2 days. And then they found him in like a shed.
Oh, I seen that one.
And
Yeah.
he's like a little redheaded kid. And you want to talk about a kid in 2 days that changed? Like, let me show you the picture. His name was Riker, but like this is what he looked like before he went missing. Now was the picture they were putting out, and
Show
then
it to these guys.
I can put a picture up on our
this
video.
kid here, and then 2 days later they found him, and this is what he looked like.
Whoa,
2 days. So you don't think that kid went through some trauma from
man!
something?
Wow,
And I think he's only like 2 years old, or 3 years old.
you can see, man. You can see
And
that. Golly,
2 days in rural Montana, he survived on his own. They found him in like a shed about 2 or 3 miles, I think, from where he lived. But man, that's just crazy. Like in 2 days, like that much trauma,
and
and mess him up.
You know what's crazy about that too, though, and this is one thing that my conspiracy brain starts kind of churning a little bit. With the Dior case that you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, or with this topic, the FBI shows up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a case that I had kind of researched. His name is David. His name is David Scott. So he was in the Sierra Mountains. It was similar to Dior. Basically, the family sees him, and they turn back, and he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the mountain rescue teams come in. They search, David Scott's a young child. They find the boy 3,000 feet up a cliff. And, he was basically partially naked. He's gone, he is deceased. But, that's crazy. And then the FBI shows up.
Yeah. Well, that was like the Joshua kid, where they found his clothes. Like he was up on that cliff too. And they're like, there's no way that an animal could drag him up there. There's no way a 3-year-old or 5-year-old or whatever old he was could scale that. Like only experienced hikers could do that. Like, how did he get up there?
Yeah.
Because they found his bones like later, but that was it. I don't think they even found all of him, but they found some of him.
There was one of that where I can't remember. It was on the documentary. Chris, you may remember this, but basically they found the shoes with the bones still intact to the shoes.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I remember that. That. Well, before I kind of dive into my part on this, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me, because I know everybody always saying, "Man, we can't ever understand what he's saying," but I just want to make sure everybody's volume's turned up so they can hear me. So, and I'm talking right here on that mic the best I can, Anyway, you guys can hear me?
Yeah, well,
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Hopefully you guys at home can hear me, and I just want to double check before I start, saying something. But
his lips are on the mic.
anyway, I wanted to kind of say something. I know they all got all kinds of theories. It could be aliens, it could be this, it could be hypothermia, it could be all kinds of things. But, again, I always believe in those old teachings. We have things out there that roam the woods. We have spirits in the mountains. We have spirits in the caves. And, this particular area, it sounds to me, that there's different kind of spirits. Which one it was, I cannot say. But, I can remember hearing stories of LPs taking children, and a lot of times when they took them, they would never be found. And, when they would keep children, they would always say you would find their clothes. Because when those LPs would take them, they're making them one of them. They're going to dress them, that old way. Tribes, we forgot that. When we dress a friend or we dress a child, we adorn them with all the things that we had made, and that was across the board from all tribes, whether you were Southwestern, whether you're Northern, Western, Eastern tribe, we all practiced that. If we adopted somebody, we would dress them in our manner. And if they accepted those clothes, then they accepted our kinship. They would be, a brother or sister or, aunt or uncle, or father or mother, whatever that adoption procedure was. But where do you think we got that ceremony from? All these teachings, again, they're old. These are ancient teachings, and to me, this is what reigns true with me when I hear stories like that, because my folks would tell me about, when you let your kids out there, watch them, because you always had something out there that was wanting to take your children, and, I know they got that other show and it talks about adults, and, there's other spirits, that roam those mountains, caves, like I was saying, different spirits, some that, you never want to name, and they devour people. And just like, you guys said, they would find their bones, way off, and I think one of those stories, they talked about this guy, he was an avid hunter, and they found his rifle, up against a tree, his backpack, full of all, even a handgun. This guy was well packed, for being out there.
I think he even had like a transponder too, I think.
He even had a cell phone.
Yeah.
He had all kinds of stuff. This was a full-grown man. But they found all his stuff, put in certain areas. And they were long distances from one another. And again, speaking as a Muskogee Creek, we've got those entities. That's why I mentioned a while back, if you ever go into the woods or you're going into strange land, whether it's mountains, whether it's even the water, you pay reverence to those spirits. You ask permission to journey through their land or through their area. You give them something for your safety or your loved one's safety. Because there are things out there that will take you just like that, you know. And I know Stahetki people or non-natives, you know, they always want to say blame it on aliens and UFOs, you know, and all kinds of
Serial
stuff.
killers.
Yeah, serial killers, and you know, they want to make excuse for everything. But again, you know, you talk to those ancient people, whether it's here in the Americas or they're across the waters, those ancient people would tell you that there are things out there like that. And, you know, I don't care what nationality you visited. You know, if they have those old ancient stories, they would talk of things like that. You know, the Greeks, they were well known for, what would they call that? How they say it? Mythology. You know, and, you know, again, you know, these were ancient beings that would take you just like that. You know, all these explanations, that list that Mr. Tiger read off, you know, when he was reading that, you know, there's several spirits that were just popping in my mind. You know, it could be a number of one of those things that roam. Sometimes you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yep.
And if you don't know how to deal with these things, that's what's going to happen to you.
Get took.
Yep. You know, and like I said, you know, whether what tribe you belong to, you know, we all had these beliefs, you know, and like I said, even if you don't believe Native way, you know, maybe you come from across the waters, you know, all these ancient people, they all had stories like that, you know, and they had even what they call it, fairies. You know, people think of fairies, they'll say, this, you know, ain't nothing to be scared. I ain't scared of no fairy. But they have fairies that are black. You know, they call them black fairies. You know, and those are wicked. You know, they devour humans. You know, you have other spirits out there that other nationalities, you know, if you say those names, they will tremble. You know, again, you know, these are real things. You know, and not to mention, you know, and I mentioned this before, you know, today's day and age, you know, everybody wants to go buy those books, those witchcraft books, and try to summon something up for fun of it. And then they don't put them back. What do you think those things do? They're roaming. You know, and again, you know, whether you believe Christianity or Scientology or, you know, old ancient beliefs, you know, there are things out there that will get you. And, you know, the thing, you know, I liked about this Missing 411, you know, episodes, you know, again, you know, I think about my uncles, you know, they would tell me stories about before we would go out into the woods and hunt. You know, even they believed long time ago, these animals, they carried medicines, you know, and so before you would go out there, you would doctor yourself in a certain way. You would give offerings to that area before you even entered, you know, asking for that blessing, you know, asking you needed to feed your family or feed yourself, you know, that's all you're going to go in and that's all you're going to take. You're going to take just what you need, no more, no less. You know, and that was old Indian way, you know, and, you know, I don't hear, you know, people really talking about those kind of things anymore. You know, like I said, you know, when I was listening to these stories, you know, I think Mr. Yehola or Mr. Randall talked about, you know, they find them way up on top of mountains, you know, and, you know, like I said, a lot of these beings, you know, they got supernatural powers, you know, and especially those LPs, you know, and, you know, as Muskogee Creeks, you know, we always had good ones and we always had bad ones. And so to me, this is proof on those bad ones. You know, when I hear that list that he was reading off, that weather comes out of nowhere, makes it bad. You know, everything on that list, you know, tells me, you know, that it's those evil ones, those evil LPs. You know, and again, you know, to me, you know, I just, you know, when watching these and listening to them and hearing these stories, you know, I just, you know, it sends a shiver down my back, you know, just thinking, you know, that people don't really understand how real these things really are. And so again, you know, again, I'm not saying it couldn't be aliens. Maybe it is. I don't know. You know, maybe there's how they say it, carnivorous aliens.
Yeah.
Meat eaters. And you know, but you know, again, you know, just my Muskogee beliefs. You know, again, we've got entities that do those kind of things.
Chris, did you see what's that one? The Hunted?
So
Is it the one on Hulu?
Yeah, the Hunted one's on Hulu. Yeah.
Okay, so you watch that one too? The Hunted?
Yeah,
that's the
that,
one with that old man, the
Yeah.
hunter. They had
Yeah.
like about 5 stories on there.
And that lady's in that tree.
I was gonna ask you about that. What do you think that is? That like invisible, like type predator thing? That was crazy.
Again, you know, I'm saying there's a lot of spirits out there that can do that. You know, and again, you know, there's different, especially in the woods. You know, they always said, you know, those were woodland spirits. I don't know if you guys remember. I posted this picture a while back, you know, and it looked like a tree, and it had horns, and you know, of course, that was what they say a natural phenomenon, you know, for that wood to kind of grow like that. But you know, being Muskogee Creek, you know, again, you know, we've got 1,000 ways to die, you know, and they're always horrible, you know, and they're always saying those things you don't talk about, you don't speak on.
Dang, they was saying on TikTok like, dang, what can y'all do?
Yeah, so, but you know,
LIVIN. We just live.
you know,
It's our time. It's our time.
Yeah, the thing about it though is if you want to know, you know, go ask your elders. They're going to tell you about these things, and they're going to tell you why not to say their names, and what do you do when you do. Now, if I was, you know, arrogant and whatever, and I could give you guys those names, and then you'd have every knucklehead out there shouting it out everywhere, causing chaos, and I would be blamed for that, you know, and their blood would be on my hands. You know, so again, you know, I know it gets tiresome hearing, you know, someone say, I can't give you the name, but I'm giving you a lot of information that, you know, if you want to, go ask somebody, you know, and I know sometimes I'll get some elders get on to me, you know, don't be giving that information out, you know, let those things lie. You know, don't be conjuring those things up. Even with the little information that I give out, people know what I'm talking about. And so, you know, again, you know, I apologize for, you know, maybe being repetitive on that. But, you know, again, I do know I've got people out there listening that know things. And so, you know, again, you know, I'm trying to be respectful to everybody. So
Yeah.
I know some of the stories I've heard growing up between the good LP and bad LP. Just the distinct look of both. You know what I mean? They say like the good LPs dress like the old ones, and then the ones that aren't kind of the bad ones, I guess, they dress like raggedy, like they have like burlap clothes. Their clothes are ripped and torn, and they got like white hair and maybe like their toenails and fingernails are all overgrown, look like Fritos or something, you know.
Yeah, I know, ain't it? God.
But like that's what I've heard, you know.
You
as
made
far as-
Russell slide his feet underneath his other foot.
Had to bring him in. This guy's looking right down here.
I did, man. I checked them out, man.
So
Yeah,
got that
potato
ash,
chips.
The real
ash around that ankle, like that way. No,
Real ashy. Looking over here.
Get some lotion on them.
you know.
But that's what I've heard, you know,
Yeah.
just some stories, and they always just told us, you know, don't go play it by yourself,
Yeah.
you know, because you just never know. Like they want you out there. They'll play with you. They'll be nice to you. They'll have fun with you, and then you just don't come home.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you just, I mean, not to cut you off, Chris. You know, when you talked about the hunted with the old man, you know, to me, I think it's so kind of. Oh.
No, I was imagining him like telling that and then just looking right down at me. Yep. Just describing, but looking right at me, just describing me. That's what I was thinking of. Oh my god.
Go ahead, Chris. I can't go no more.
Well, you know, to answer your question, Tyler, you know, yes, I've heard stories like that too, but they say, you know, just like you were saying, you know, the most deceptive one is usually the evilest one. You know, it's gonna come to you as something scary because you're gonna take off, right? It's gonna come to you as very appealing at first.
Yeah.
Then once it got its grip on you,
Yeah.
then you'll see its true self.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the last thing you're going to see.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a guy just like 2 houses down from where I live now. He has a tree that had been blown over by a storm, you know, and so it's all gone except for this big old tall tree trunk, you know. And he kind of messes around with wood, and he carved in a little door. And man, I tell you what, like every time I walk by that thing, man, it makes me nervous.
Then you had to
You
put a
know
little
what
lock
I mean?
on it, man.
And then my son will run up there. I'm like, don't go up there. You know, he's like, can I not go in there? And then like my son's only 3, and he goes, that LP living there. I said, you don't want to go up there because like, but like, if my question is like, if you do things like that, I mean, this guy is a stud guy. He don't know, you know what I mean? But would that like call, or would that be like a way of opening up a door for them to like, or like, I mean, this isn't more of like a suburban, I mean, I don't live out in the woods or nowhere, but you know what I mean? Like, would that be like a, hey, like come around? Cause he got little mushrooms out front. I mean, he did it all up like a little fairy garden. And I see, you know, that's a thing. Fairy gardens, people build those things and flower beds and stuff. And I don't know. It just, to me, like, it opens up a door that I don't want open, and I don't want my son.
Like a welcoming, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
don't go over
rolling
there
out
and
the
kick
red
it.
carpet.
They'll
for
go over and
these
kick those
people.
mushrooms out, man. God,
Yeah.
just start breaking everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my son, like, he's 3, you know, he says, like, man, that LP come and play tricks on me. I was like, he might.
Yeah, golly.
Well, to answer your question, that's a definitely yes. You
Yeah.
know, that's, you know, again, it's also how they present it as well, you know. And what I'm talking about that is, you know, you can build something and, you know, not say anything about it. You know, you most of the time you'll be all right. But, you know, if you do it, you build it, and you give an invitation,
Yeah.
then you're really opening the door. But
Yeah.
on it, just developing it, you know, it's 50-50 chance. But
Yeah, I mean, I see him just doing it just to do it. You know, I don't see
Yeah.
him like, but I just tell my son, like, don't go up there. Like, don't touch that.
Yeah.
well, like I was saying, you know, that picture that I had posted, you know, I was telling you about that wood. You know, it looked like a entity. You know, again, you know, with creeks, you know, we have things that we believe. And just to kind of give you just a little bit, and I know those old timers, if any of them's listening, I know they're going to know what I'm talking about. You know, they have a certain what do you call it, like a woodland spirit, and it takes form, and people will see them in the woods and not even know that what they're really looking at. Just like that picture, they say, oh, that's just natural. It's just how, that's weird how nature, creates something like that, and everybody's posting pictures of it, and say, oh, it's scary, it's this way, that way, actuality, if you go through the woods, most of the time you will find something odd like that. You got to sit there and think, why? Again, all nationalities believed in these kind of spirits, and we all gave offerings to them, and they're out there, and they do exactly like he was reading off. They can call nature to do its bidding. If they want to devour you, they're going to make you stay there one way or the other. And again, to me, all this stuff is just proof that those things are out there. If you hear those original stories, you'll know, everything he read off is those telltale signs, things are coming. Yeah. So
let me ask y'all this. So I was just listening to David Pilates. He was on Coast to Coast. I found a snippet of a case, and I just want to curious to see what y'all think of what this might be. And it's nothing like the case points that I just mentioned earlier. So this guy's name was Danny Filippidis. He was a fire captain, real renowned, sturdy guy, consistent. Basically, he was over at this ski resort called Whiteface, and it was on Lake Placid, over by Lake Placid, and he was at like some type of conference or some type of gathering of a bunch of firemen all over the country, and basically he had his buddy. He goes, "Hey, and he tells his buddy, say, "Hey, I'm gonna go one more time down the ski, the mountain, whatever." And they never found him again. And the crazy part about this, and like I said, this, I want to hear y'all's opinion on this. He shows back up days later, wearing the same stuff, not tattered up, looking as he did 2 days later, or a few days later, at the Sacramento airport. Calls his wife, "Hey, I hit my head, something happened, and I cannot remember what happened for the last couple of days. The only thing I can remember is a guy helped me get from where I was at, coming out of the woods. Drove him to the airport, basically. I guess he said he was in a daze, and the guy just took him to the airport."
Dang.
What do y'all think that could be? That's David Pilates told that story a couple of years back.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like portals. I heard another story, not same guy, but a fireman was doing. They were in the middle of a fighting a fire. He goes off. He gets separated from his group. He pushed too far forward because it was just no chance. Once you got to let that fire go, you just got to let it go sometimes. He disappears. He shows up years later wearing the same fire suit. And that's been mentioned before. So I'm just curious on, he was wearing the fireman was wearing the same exact garb as if he was, when he disappeared. They couldn't find him. Like literally the fire went out and they looked nothing of nothing. So I think it's portals, and I think has to go in with similar to what you're talking about with the LP, or getting people dazed off to where they're just kind of, that's kind of what they do sometimes is, they get you kind of out your mind and take you off, where you're not supposed to be. Chris, I'm just curious on what you're kind of from hearing those two stories.
Again, I'm gonna give you guys a golden apple on this one. So if you're listening, hopefully you can hear what I'm getting ready to say. So if you can't, put your ear real close to your phone. No. But, this one particular spirit, they say it's real ancient being. Now this is a Muskogee Creek, story or entity, as you might say. And the English name for it is ghost bear. Some of you guys might know it, creek name, but I'm not gonna say that. But the English interpretation is ghost bear. And he does things like that. He'll wipe your mind clear. And they say that it's almost like he freezes you in time. Then he'll put you back if he desires, But later on, he's going to come back and get you. It's kind of like an alligator. When they get you, they're going to turn you and they're going to hide you somewhere under the water. So when they come get hungry, they'll come back after you. So that's kind of how this thing is. Once it kind of does that to you, it'll set you free, but later on, it's going to come back and eat you. So anyway, it does stuff like that. And again, this is another one that I think he can do things to the weather. He has a lot of supernatural powers. He can do many things. They have another one, and this one, they say he travels underneath the ground. And the way they describe him is he has like a, what do you call it? Like a sharp, real sharp point on his head. That allows him to dig underneath the ground. But again, if you walk across his path, if he's dug underneath that ground and you walk across his path and you're not carrying things with you, he'll wipe your mind completely clear. And you will be driven mad. A lot of people, they'll say, he travels a lot during the winter time. He doesn't travel a lot during the summertime. But you hear his symptoms, running across his path. Maybe one of you guys can look this up for me. Do y'all have y'all's phone ready? Look up the symptoms for hypothermia. And tell me what it tells you.
Symptoms for hypothermia: shivering, exhaustion, or feeling very tired, confusion, fumbling hands, memory loss, slurred speech, drowsiness.
Also, they say they start to burn up. And they'll take their clothes off, and that's just part of hypothermia. They say they start burning, they get delirious, all those symptoms are the symptoms that they used to say, you walked across that thing's path, or, it made a home underneath your home, and that person kind of just loses his mind, and it takes you. Again, these are ancient things, not just an Indian thing, not just a white man thing, not just a black man thing. It's all nationalities had an entity like that. And so, again, to me, all these different people have stories of the same being. What does that tell you?
Yeah. And that's one thing, as you kind of, we talk about, I know we haven't really touched the second movie, but we, like you mentioned, the old guy going missing. Another one that I find very, interesting. So now this one is not on the documentary, but it's regarding basically this guy. He's leaving this bar area, or bar basically, and he's walking home, and we'll have to pull this up because I think this is. And you can do it later. I'll show you the video. But he goes missing, and he calls his girlfriend, and he's like, "Hey, he's just not making no sense." But then all of a sudden, you hear these screams, these kind of these weird, not normal noises, and this is also in a sobering coincidence. This is in his book, David Pilaty's book, that basically he's calling his, I think it's like I said, his wife, weird noises, and he's gone. They can never find him. They never found him. And when I hear, especially when Chris talks about these beings, it kind of gives me goosebumps because really at the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know half of the stuff that, I don't know half the stuff my grandpa knew. My grandpa doesn't know half the stuff that his grandpa knew. Everyone's family's like that. But, I got to say, Mado to Chris for sharing that because, like I said, a lot of this stuff is gone. It's gone. And, with people going missing all the time, we hadn't even touched the topic of the missing and murdered women and people, on reses. And maybe that's something we do later on because it's just a touchy subject, when we're talking about that. But, a lot of times, people just, we're just living our lives. Like you say, live. We just live. And we run into these things. And like I said, Chris, I got to say Mado to you for that. Appreciate you giving us that information.
Yeah, at our event in Pawnee, too, somebody brought up the LP situation for these. Wasn't it a missing 411 type of story from a national park? And then they figured, like, it's LPs, It was dark, so they didn't say the name. But they said, I think it's LPs, and I never heard of this missing 411 until you brought it up, I think.
Yeah. And
I was like, I'll look into it, too. And so, like you, man, I was just watching videos and I watched that documentary on Hulu. If anybody wants to watch it, it's called Hunted or...
Yeah, Missing 411, The Hunted.
Okay.
And the thing that's crazy about that documentary is these people are armed.
Yeah.
And majority of the people that are taken, this is another crazy conspiracy, too, that if you look this up, you'll find it. I ain't going to say it because I don't want a letter agency coming after me. Anyways. But basically, a lot of these hunters have German descent. Think about that for a second. There's a lot of things, conspiracy-wise that people talk about when it comes to Germans. But a lot of the people in the hunted have German descent or German blood. That's another point in the hunted that I don't think they talked about. Well, they may have talked about it. I haven't seen. I saw it, last week, and I sometimes forget. But a lot of the people that are taken have that German descent, and what that could be, and that's what it could be aliens. But I think what it is, like I said, I think it's I think it's a little bit of everything. But I also think, when it comes to that hunted documentary with the cloaked being that we saw at the end, there was a video that you shared to me on TikTok that really had me kind of like, what was that? And you could see it. It's this figure, this cloaked figure. This guy thought it was a Bigfoot. Was walking down the middle of the road, but you could see the pixelation change.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You see that, Chris?
Yeah. I like
that was wicked.
Yeah.
That was a crazy one. I was like, I gotta send it to them.
Yeah.
Get on TikTok.
I know, Tyler. God.
Now there was that story though too that I don't remember where exactly it was at, but they were it was in a national park or just a park, maybe. I think it was a national park where they were building a new trail, like a hiking trail, and they got to like clear out, and it's not like you just, we're just gonna start. This is your new trail. Like they got to kind of make it, clear out trees and chop down overgrown areas and whatnot, kind of pack it down a little bit better. But anyway, but this crew was out trail building up in the forest or the hills or what have you, and they were on their lunch break, and all the crew was just kind of sitting around, And that's when they heard whistling in the middle of the woods. And they knew, like, well, there shouldn't be anybody out here because we're probably about 5 or 6 miles off of the normal trail. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. Like, there shouldn't be anybody out here. But they heard whistling, and they were all saying, it's probably a bird or it's probably an animal. And then they looked down, and there was a guy in a top hat.
Whoa.
Just said he was like, just whistling, like he was dressed to the nines, like almost in like a tuxedo.
Man.
Just whistling, and they hollered down to him. And there was another one, then another one came in. They were hollering, and they kind of started talking back and forth to each other. They couldn't make out what they were saying, and the whole crew just watched them just walk off, and then like they hollered to him, like, "Hey, like, what are y'all doing out here? Like, hello, hello," and like they didn't pay any attention to him. Like the crew wasn't even there.
Man.
And they just walked into the forest, and then they're all like looking at each other. It was like, did you see that?
Man,
like,
that's crazy.
Like, yeah, like two dudes in top hats.
Let me ask y'all this. I don't know if y'all have heard anything about this. And this goes along with missing 411. But have y'all heard about staircases in the woods?
Mm-mm.
Y'all never heard nothing about that?
I don't think so.
I heard I've heard a few stories, but one story that really was kind of wild. So basically, I'll explain this staircases in the woods. It ended up on Reddit. Someone had kind of talked about how they saw this. Basically, it's like a Victorian style staircase that's in the middle of the woods, attached to nothing. So it's just a staircase that goes up, and there's nothing behind it, nothing in front of it. It's just in the woods. Well, I had talked to somebody who was telling me a story about the time when they were doing military exercises. And basically they had one of their friends walked up it, and he said that it was calling out to him.
The staircase?
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
So I don't know if y'all had heard anything about that, but that goes along with missing 411 too, because, there's just all these weird occurrences, but also too, I think what it could be too, to Chris's point, is those beings normalizing something in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stories that you'll hear from Purim, they only can describe what they know.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see a staircase in the woods, it may not be a staircase in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It may be, something looks like it to you, to your mind, or, they mess with your mind trying to make you familiar to something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what that is. And I was just curious on if y'all had heard anything about that.
I never heard. Mm-mm.
It's
I'll have
pretty.
to look it up.
Yeah, look it up. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, no. I mean, the missing 411 thing to me, I have been looking at. I've been looking at that for a while, just because David Paulides also doesn't have anything on YouTube besides his project, his Can-Am project. He doesn't have any of his old coast to coast, and that to me that says something.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube taking it off or whatever, but. You used to have hours and hours and hours of interviews on there, but now it's gone.
Well, I wanted to check out once I figured, it's a book series. I'm going to check out some of these books. Dang, them books are like $99.
No, so that's one thing that he's battling too. And I was watching an interview.
Dang.
Basically, that people are buying his book and then reselling it for crazy prices.
Of course.
Yeah.
So if you go to, I guess I don't want to, I guess we're plugging him, I guess, but he, Can-Am, I think it's .com or .org.
You can get them cheaper.
You'll get it for like $15.
Okay. Because I was like looking at Amazon because.
Yeah, people will be buying them and reselling, but but that missing 411 stuff, man, and I'm, it's pretty crazy, to know that just someone vanishes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we talked about this. And like I said, we had people at Pawnee like, man, when y'all gonna talk about that? And I've had people, reach out to me just, because that's something that they fell across on YouTube, or you get down a rabbit hole and it's just like,
yeah, that's what I went down.
Yeah.
I was looking Nutty Putty and all these other crazy cave stories. I mean, they sealed that one cave up with homeboy still in it.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't get him out. He's stuck. They couldn't get him out, so they just see ya.
Dang.
Just come tell your wife. Tell him, holler down here and tell him you love him. Like, what do you do?
That's crazy. Yeah.
Sealed him up there alive. Had to leave him.
Yeah.
Like, peace.
Dang.
Dude's still in there today.
Man.
To this day.
Dang, that's y'all see the movie Descent?
Yeah.
That was another one. That's why I was
Dang.
asking y'all about cave demons, and I didn't hear too many stories about other than, like I said, the descent. But it makes for just claustrophobia wise anyway, like that already is unnerving.
Well,
Then you
weren't
put
those
monsters on top of it or demons on top of it?
were those people that were in there before, and then they evolved into like a bat? Like
Yeah, it was like
Yeah, basically.
cave dwellers.
For real?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when that first came out, man. That was pretty scary.
That was a
Dude.
scary movie.
All that blood, and there was like a blood. It was like a blood pond, man. In there.
Yeah. Have you ever
crazy.
seen that movie, The Descent?
You need to
gotta
watch it,
check it
Chris.
out.
It's on. I think they just added it on Netflix, I believe. No,
Yeah.
it's on. It might be on Shutter. It's on one
It's
of
on
those.
one of them.
I
It's
think
good.
there's a sequel to it too.
Yeah.
That one's pretty stupid.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
pretty
see
terrible.
The first one's good.
I got a movie that everybody's got to watch. So I watched it the other day. I was telling you guys about it. I think it's called Ghost
Go
War. Or
War Ghosts or
something
Ghost
like
of Wars or something, or War Go or something.
it's
Yeah.
called War
I
Ghosts.
thought you were talking about that one with the pottery.
God,
Patrick Swayze.
dang it, that one too. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, though, but they do have some shadow people in that one and lost souls. But all right, we're going.
I haven't seen that one in a long time.
Yeah,
so
me
I
either.
can't remember what's in that one. But I saw that one the other night.
What's
Man.
it on again?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I looked it up after you showed me or you told me about it, and
Man, you guys gotta watch that. I mean, that was, whoever did that movie did their homework on spirits. So you guys watch it. I hope you guys enjoy it. It'll be a good Halloween flick for the whole family.
yes. Any other before we
Man.
wrap it up?
I don't. I think we did a pretty good job of
Yeah.
hitting everything about missing 411. Now, if you listen to the episode and you're like, oh, y'all didn't talk about this, let us know. We'll hit it.
Yeah, and if there's any other cave dwellers or cave spirits that y'all have out there, send them to us.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about doing a cave episode of some sort too. Like we're still like planning out all the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a few of them coming. I know Dogman's next. I know y'all gonna be excited about that one. I know that's a pretty popular one. We did talk about we're gonna do a strictly LP one, right? I guess is that coming up too? And then I know we did talk about doing maybe cursed movies. Was one
Oh
that we
yeah,
talked
cursed
about.
movies.
I could do that one.
I really want to hear Mr. Randall's
Yeah.
input on that one.
Right.
I've been trying to get him to do that one. That one.
Yeah, we do that one. Whichever one y'all want to do. But if we talk about movies, we're going to talk about Primal Rage. Just so
Primal
y'all know.
Rage, baby. The cursed of them all now. Predator thought it was cursed now.
What's those movies you guys watch? The one you watch and the one you want. The Hunted and
Which one?
So it's Missing 411,
Oh, yeah.
and then this is the first one, and then Missing 411, The Hunted.
The
Hunted. Yeah.
Which I haven't seen that one, but yeah, go check out the first one. Like I picked it up on Amazon for like $4.99 or $3.99 or something like that. That way I can just watch it with commercial free and
$400.
nah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, but it's good and like there's a lot of information in there and I mean those two stories, man, are heartbreaking. And then the one is like a feel good because they found him alive.
Yeah.
It's serious business when they got Survivor Man out there trying to
Dang, trying to
recreate
yes.
that kid's. So
He can't
I mean,
even
I guess
do
we're
it.
kind of backtracking a little bit, but like the
Dang.
kid was found like 16 miles from his house, and they had the Survivor Man. You know that show, Survivor Man. They had him out there, and they're like, "You tried to do this," and he had trouble. He said, "Man,
He couldn't even do it. I don't
yeah,
think.
he's like, I'm struggling. He's like, there is no way a
Yeah.
5-year-old kid or however old could do this, make this terrain. There's no way,
Craziness.
especially in the weather and the cold out there.
Again, if you like these ones, there's another one. They call it Suicide Forest. It's in Japan. The documentary of that, and again, that's a must see. If you like this Missing 411, again, this is across the waters, and it talks about different things and their beliefs in spirits and in suicide and stuff like that. And to me, that's just again, it kind of goes back to what we discussed earlier, about these spirits and how active they are. So, again, if you think it's just the Indian thing, it's not. Check out that suicide forest or whatever they call it in Japan.
Yeah.
And that's a amazing show to watch.
Yep. So we'll wrap it up right here. Everybody go ahead and plug up your stuff.
Plug it up. Russell's got to go file down.
Hey, let's go.
File his nails down.
Here, I'll go first this time. You can find me on Facebook, Yahola Tiger. On TikTok, One Man Band 918. I believe that's it, Chris.
Yes, you can find me at Christopher Honka Hill on Instagram and on TikTok. But
I'm at Skoden_cinema on Instagram, and then got the 2 Facebook pages. I haven't been kind of quiet over there lately. I've just been super busy. I have like 3 episodes. I just can't ever find the time to record them. I'm just tired by the time I get home. But I do have new episodes. I just haven't recorded them yet. I just got to do all the research on it. So,
What about the pump?
oh yeah, see, I do have episodes recorded for that, but we ran into some technical issues. Got the same problem Chris has. Can't ever hear my partner. Yeah, I was like, dang man, or try to crank his levels up. But yeah, it's a pump action _podcast on Instagram too. We talk about action movies, and it's coming. Like we got like 6 episodes recorded, 7 episodes recorded for that one, and but yeah, we might have to redo some. And he says some naughty words, so I gotta bleep him out because.
How dare he? No.
Yeah. Well, the testosterone flows
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah, with the action movies. Yeah.
Just drinking Celtic. Yeah. Talking.
Drinking bone broth.
Eating bones.
Gnawing on turkey legs.
All right, everybody, go check them out. Go follow them. Follow us at reservation_mysteries on TikTok. Follow us or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation as well. We are going to be...
Before you go any further on that, y'all driving me crazy. I see we have all these views on our YouTube and there's no likes. Come on, man. Y'all got to like the page, man. Don't do us like that. Subscribe, like the page. Come on now. Go ahead, Russell. Sorry.
Subscribe to us, like it. We are going to be in Eufaula October 21st. That's going to be tonight. The 22nd, Okmulgee at the Omniplex. And then we're going to be in Ponca City at the... Is that the Powwow Grounds?
yeah.
The Powwow Grounds for the Ponca Nation, October 28th. And then October 29th, we'll be in Oto at their Powwow Grounds at the encampment. Yeah. Yep. So go check us out at one of these shows. Tell your story and let us know, if you have any scary stories, send them our way as well. Instagram or on Facebook or our email. And let's see, I was going to say something else too. Oh yeah, we're going to do a Halloween episode. So special treat for everybody. We're going to try to give you guys 3 episodes this month. We're talking about doing like some sort of contest to where send us
your best costume contest, and whoever wins, we got a special prize for you guys.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's going to be good too.
Yeah.
It'll be worth your while. So
yes.
Get your scary outfit on, or
scariest outfit will win.
Some of y'all don't even need to dress up.
Oh, that was Mr. Randall.
Cold-blooded.
Just send us a selfie.
I just want to say that was Mr. Double Deuce Randall. Just don't be blanking at all of us. No.
Man,
you guys pray for him. Put some tobacco out for him. Ask Creator to have mercy on him like that way. No.
That's cold-blooded, man.
I'm just kidding.
Dang,
I got jokes.
He said Kobe in the 4th with this one.
I got jokes.
Man.
No, but send us your scariest costume, and yeah, we got a cool prize to send out wherever you're at, and look forward to that on October 31st. We'll probably announce some winner like before we drop the episode.
Yeah.
So until next time, stay spooky, everybody.
Motto.
Motto.
Don't forget to smudge.
Product of the 90s.